Hey guys, we're in the middle of the snow apocalypse here down in lower Alabama. You're in the middle of my office, sparsely decorated with too few books. So we're going over tracing on Romans chapter 3, verse 21 through 26. Hopefully you're getting a little better hang of this as time goes on. I think we'll be more and more proficient at it hopefully at the end of the semester. So we're just going to go over it this one now, and I will take a picture of my tracing and upload it. We're having printer problems here at the church office, so I can't have a nice full printout, but I think this will be pretty helpful for you. So I have broken up the propositions. Try to make this so I can see everybody. Let's see here. Yeah, there we go. Minimize that. All right, let's see here. Sorry. Pull up my digital copy. Okay, here we go. So I've split it up like this. See if you can see this. 21A, B, 22A, B, C, 23A, B, 24A, B, A, B, C, A, B, and basically there's different. You can break this up into maybe a few other propositions, but that's kind of just a general way of doing it for now, and I'll explain this as I go along. And provide a typed handout of the different propositions for you on the handout section of our MyUM. We're a little bit off track with our syllabus. I'll have quiz number 3 up and available for you to take tonight, so you can do that. Also have quiz number 2 and 3. So hopefully you guys are able to stay on board and on track with those. I'm trying to give you a little more time to take those. So if you notice, the deadline on some of those quizzes is a little longer than initially indicated on the syllabus. So we'll catch back up here pretty soon and be on track. So let's do this tracing, Romans 3:21 through 26. Again, tracings are, we were breaking up our assigned passages into many propositions. So a proposition is basically a dependent or independent clause. It's basically, does a clause have a main idea? Sometimes, as in this case, I've broken off one or two words that I think are really important, and I want to draw those out in my tracing so that when I preach from it, I can draw them out as I teach through the text. But for now, just work on breaking up the propositions and explaining the relationships between the logical relationships between the syntax in the text. I'll do that for you again on the handout, so you won't have to do that. That's not part of the assignment, but I would like to see that you're attempting the tracings at large. Okay. So looking at verse 21, I've broken it up into two propositions. First one, 21a, but now apart from the law, or the works of the law, the righteousness of God has been manifested, even though his righteousness has been witnessed to by the law and the prophets. That's a concessive relationship indicated by the even. So you'll see that there, right there, yeah. Concessive relationship indicated by the even. And that's an important statement that Paul's making, that the apart from the law and the works of the law, the righteousness of God has been made known, even though it was witnessed to by the law and even by the prophets. I think Paul's making a careful distinction between law and prophets, and that in the law we have what is required of man to access God, to come into relationship with God. The prophets are a reminder of what it takes, a calling back to what it takes to be righteous in God's sight. And now Paul is saying, apart from these things, even though these things witness to them, the righteousness of God is manifested outside of them. Now that's a striking claim. That's a revolutionary idea, as a matter of fact. And he's going to explain that in really this passage, but I mean that's what a large part of Romans is about. The revelation of Jesus Christ and his righteousness outside of, or beyond rather, the written Mosaic law and Old Testament writings. So it's a pretty important concept, and that we wrap our minds around, and it's really a subject of a lot of debate. Okay, so the next thing I'm looking for is just kind of, again, the easier and tighter and more closely connected logical propositions, and we can do that a number of ways. We can see in verse 23, I've broken it up into two propositions: since all have sinned, 23a, and then 23b, and fallen short of the glory of God. That's just a series of ideas linked by the word and. So you can see that there. Whoops, always get that wrong. There's your A and B. Nothing hard there. Now, 22c is being grounded by 23. So there is no distinction. Why? Because all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. There's no distinction between people. Sometimes we like to make this a, excuse. You hear us in the congregation that people will say things like, well, we're all sinners, And that's right. We're all sinners. It levels the playing field. But here, Paul's also using the argument to say, to eradicate the distinctions between people who have the law and people who have not carried the law, the written law, among them. We've all fallen short of God's written revelation, and that's imperative to take account. I mean, it levels the playing field between genders and ethnicities and so on, but particularly in this case between those who are on the blessing side of salvation history, namely the Jews, and those who are outside of the Mosaic covenant and Abrahamic blessing, namely the Gentiles. But Paul here is leveling the playing field, and that's really the point, is to say we're all the same. Those of you who think that there's a distinction between the created beings, we're all from the same creator, and we're all accountable to the same law, whether it's been witnessed to in stone tablets or the conscience of our human heart. So he goes on in 22a, or sorry, 22 A and B. Yeah, I would link that with an action manner. 22a and b. 22a, the righteousness of God, namely the righteousness of God, again, has been witnessed to through faith in Jesus Christ for all those who believe. So 22a and b, action manner. This is a case where you didn't have to split off. You didn't have to split up 22 into 22a, b, and c. You probably could just left through faith in Jesus Christ for all those who believe as a part of 22a. But I went ahead and broke them off because that idea is really important, and that's actually what's being grounded in verses 22 through 23. So if you notice what I did there, I grounded 22 with 22 through 22c and 23. The point is that the point is that the righteousness of God has been witnessed to through faith for all those who believe, and that's really the point. Anybody can receive or can have revealed to them the righteousness of God, because anyone has sinned. I mean, that's really his point. There is no distinction that, and faith is the thing that dissolves the barrier, and that's going to be Paul's major point, right? How was Abraham justified? It's by faith. How is Rahab justified? It's by faith, for Hebrews 11. How are the great saints of old, Jew and Gentile, justified? By faith. How was Ruth justified? By faith. And so on and so on. So it's really critical to Paul to understand that there is no distinction, that all can receive the righteousness of God because all have sinned under by the law of God, or transgressed the law of God, whether it was a conscience of their heart or whether it was through intentional rebellion against God revealed law. We'll upload this next video to explain the rest of the tracing.